Hey everybody, happy Friday. Hope you all had a great week, had a good Easter if you celebrate. I'm going through a little throat thing right now, so we're just gonna do this video and see how it goes, alright? So it is Friday, April 10th. We're doing the old school RuneScape market review for the week. I thought this was gonna be an easy one, and then they dumped like 3 blog posts on me, so we're gonna go through those in our agenda here. So first up we have the mobile update. Second up, we have pirate encounters and a new poll that came out with it. Brazilian worlds were added. I didn't make a slide for this. I just wanted to note that Brazilian worlds were added. So if you're happy about that, great. LMS reward changes again. Bonds and leagues, as you know. Items and indexes as usual. And then Reddit posts. There was a couple interesting ones that I wanted to look at. Okay, so we got the mobile update. Jagex added a character switcher on mobile. This is pretty big. I don't really play on mobile much anymore. I used to back when I was maxing my main. I don't really do it anymore. But, switching characters was really annoying. So I think this is a great update. I've heard that it's not that smooth. I haven't tried to use it, but I've seen some posts online and some commentary about it where it's like not that great. But I mean, everything's got to evolve, right? I'm sure it's going to get better at some point. But yeah, that was cool. About time, honestly. It's been a long time coming. It's definitely the most inconvenient part of using mobile. We have new pirate encounters coming out with a poll. There's a pirate combat activity where you fight pirates on the open seas, which is kind of cool. They're adding a new bounty task for just the pirates. We're getting new cannonballs, chain shot, and incendiary shot. They're going to appear in like various locations apparently. They're going to be mid to high level encounters. We get some new rewards, which is going to be sailing cosmetics. So we get like new sail colors, and I think we get a new leather armor, which is pretty cool, which I have the stats for later in the slide. And then they announced a new facility, a bosun's bench, which is an auto repair facility that your crew can use to fix your boat up. Pretty cool. You get it from the Red Reef quest when that comes out, and this is all in a poll, so if you want to check that out and read the questions, make sure you do that. The link's in the description if you haven't read it already. And there's also a poll out right now, so make sure you go and vote in the poll. There's a lot of them are going to be yes questions. I think there was only one I voted no for. But yeah, there's a new poll out right now, so make sure you go vote. These are the stats for the new range armor. I think it's a heavy focus, so it's going to be really good with crossbows. Basically just a crossbow centric set. If you want to review these stats, you can go ahead and pause, but essentially what we're looking at here is some extra strength or extra range attack and strength for using heavy range. So if you're using a crossbow, ballista, all that, you can get this strength bonus. I think it also works with cannons, I think I read, so that's kind of cool. When this comes out, I just hope it looks cool. Current range armor does not look that good in my opinion. Masori is definitely not my favorite set in the game looking wise, so hopefully these look kind of cool, like pirate theme or whatever, but that's cool. So then yesterday they announced some LMS changes. Players have to win a game now before they can buy tradable items for LMS, so that's kind of big. I don't know what the response to this is going to be. I have a conspiracy theory that bots are going to make it impossible to win games for normal players now in retaliation for this. I know that there's like these Terminator bots that are like super good at PvP, and I think like in protest, they're going to make it impossible for real players to win games so that nobody can get these items. That's just my conspiracy theory. We'll have to see what happens. But there was some interesting stuff going on with the Trover Parchment. I mean, you can see on day of update, this item just got totally, somebody dumped a ton of stock of this on the GE, which, to be expected, honestly, with this update. But if you look at the quarterly graph, this parchment is just getting hammered right now. I mean, it just had this huge dip in late March, and just kind of came back up a little bit. Somebody dumped, I think, like 900 or 90,000 of these on the Grand Exchange, and then we had a little bit of an uptick, and now it's going down again, relative, because of this update that just came out. So kind of interesting there. And then the rune pouch also saw a bit of an uptick as a result of this update. Just a small one, nothing crazy there, but it is worth noting, I think. I think they're still trying to go ahead with the changes that they mentioned in the last blog, but they're just adding this players must win thing as like a just a a mini thing before that update comes out, just to test to see if it actually changes anything. It's a pretty simple change in my opinion. I've never played LMS, so I don't really care about this, but I'm just including in case you do, and if this information is valuable to you. So moving on to bonds and leagues. All right, so this week was kind of crazy with leagues coming up. People are going speculation mode. Okay, so bonds are staying around 14 mil, which actually surprises me. I'm surprised that they're not kind of shooting up a little bit with the proximity to leagues. I think there's 5 days to go, and we're still not seeing any insane upward pressure like we normally do. But I think that'll change even closer, and then into the first week, I think these are going to start going up significantly. Everything else is down pretty much. The almost everything is down pretty much. I mean, the armors are just getting hammered, the rares are getting hammered, they're kind of stabilizing, but again, they're down a lot. And there are some items I wanted to highlight for this week that I think are good buys right now, so stay tuned for that. And then I have leagues videos coming soon. I'm going to do like a mini league series. If you already saw the video I posted yesterday about the areas that I'm picking, that was the first video. And then I'm doing another video tomorrow about the Echo items that are getting released today. And then I think on Sunday or Monday, I'm going to have the relics. And then Tuesday, I'm going to have the demonic pact builds that I'm thinking about. And then leagues is on Wednesday, and then I'll be streaming that on this channel if you want to check that out. So stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, so the bond is sticking around at about 14 mil. It's kind of just been hovering around here for a while now. It's been kind of between 13.5 and 14.5 for the last week, almost month at this point. You can see this is the quarterly graph. I mean, this was the membership price increase, which naturally is going to make these go up because they're more expensive now. And it's kind of just been shaking around 14 mil, 13.5 for the last month. So it's kind of just been doing the same thing. Nothing really crazy is happening. I think, like I said, we're gonna see this go up a little bit more right before and during the first 2 weeks of leagues, but that's kind of just been happening. However, the armors on the other hand are going bananas. So this is the high-end PVM sets. I wanted to just put them all in one graph so I didn't have to keep taking them individually, because you can just visualize it here, what's going on. This top line here is Torva, naturally, because it's the most expensive one. That did have a dip last week and is kind of recovering this week. It is going back up slightly. It's up about 30-40 mil, I think, which is nice. I mean, I expected this to happen because people are responding to the prices. These items are getting into their price range that they feel is an appropriate point for them to spend on these items, and everybody knows that this is what happens before leagues, so they're all preparing for this. So I think that this is getting in people's price ranges and they're buying them, and then that's why they're recovering. If these are good prices for a lot of this stuff, if this is in your range, I would definitely consider buying them. I mean, you can see all these high-end PVM sets are just down for the whole year. I mean, this is the start of the year at about 650 mil. And just been going down ever since. And the same thing with everything but Inquisitor pretty much. But we know why Inquisitor is going up. It's because of the crush speculation for the new quest and the new raid. There's a lot of speculation about there being a crush mega rare, which is not unfounded in my opinion. So that's what we're seeing here. But all the other ones are down, a lot. We have this red one is Masori, which, is always just getting destroyed. But from 200 down to about 160 for the total. This is the fortified set, by the way. 160 mil total for that. Virtus is under 100 mil, which is a great price for that as well. Ancestral is under 300 mil, which is again a great price for that. So again, if any of these items are in your range, you might want to consider buying. I think they're going to start recovering after the second week of leagues, and then they might go down again at the end of leagues. We see this a lot at the end, where a lot of people that really put a lot of time into leagues will quit for like a month or two because they're burnt out, and they'll dump all their stuff again. So we're going to keep an eye on this, of course, but again, these are good prices no matter how you look at it. So again, if you're interested in buying stuff or you're in the market, definitely consider that. These are the mega rares I put all on one chart. So the shadow obviously is down here. It is going down significantly. I think it was down to 100 or 850 mil this week, which is insanely low. I mean, just diabolical for how good that weapon is. It's sad, honestly. And of course I own one, so I'm just losing money every day holding it. The scythe is this middle one here, so that actually saw a huge price decrease over the last month. This has gone from a 1.6 bill down to 1.45, 150 mil decrease, and that is clearly in a lot of people's ranges, because you can see in the graph here there's this uptick right about when I hit 1.45. I mean, that is a great price. I mean, you're not going to see much better than that for a while, so especially with all the PVM stuff coming out. So that's a good price that they got in on that at. I don't see that going below 1.45 again, because I think people are going to react similarly. If it does it again, they're going to just buy it up to 1.5 again like they're doing now. And the T-Bow is also seeing a quite a significant downturn as well. There was a bit of a recovery once it hit like 1.57, and then it came back up to 1.6, and now it's kind of going down again. I think this behavior is going to continue. You know, I think the rares are just in a spot right now that they're super volatile, because a lot of high-end players that play a lot of leagues are selling these, so they're going down because they're going to be devoting a lot of time to leagues. And I think as a result of that, they're not going to come back to RuneScape for a while after leagues, because they've just been playing for 8 weeks straight. So I think we're going to see continued downward pressure in that regard. And then, of course, the people that are in the market are going to be pushing it back up slightly. So we're going to keep an eye on this, of course, as well. There were a lot of items that I wanted to highlight here, but we're going to start with the raids index. All the raids are basically down. I think they are actually all down. I mean, there was a slight uptick here for Tob with the scythe, because the scythe recovered a little bit, but yeah, they're all down pretty much. I mean, nobody's really doing raids right now, not in large scale anyway. A lot of people are preparing for leagues. A lot of people are selling their stuff to get bonds or what have you. You know, they're just doing a lot of not PVM, if you know what I'm saying. So that's interesting. And then the supply index similarly is down quite a bit as well. We're at 87, 86. Well, it's about 87 here on the supply chart. So PVM supplies are going down. I think this is a little bit being held up by the lower bot population, which I have a video coming out about that in about a week, I would say, that I'm going to be talking about the bots situation. But either way, supplies are down, you know, pretty good right now. Again, a lot of people are prepping for leagues, so they're not doing PVM, they're not buying supplies, so this is expected. Sailing index is down again still. I mean, the Dragon is kind of recovering a little bit, and I'll go into that in a second, but, you know, sailing supplies is down pretty good right now. The cannon barrel is really just hanging on by a thread. The pirate update caused this to go up by a smidge. A little smidgen, and it's just been hanging around 2.2 mil for the last week, and it just is like, it's just funny to me that it just is kind of hanging on by a thread here. You know, we have all these updates coming out that are just like, hey, you know, something's happening with sailing, and then you see the dragon cannon barrel has gone up slightly. So I think that's kind of interesting. Conversely, dragon nails are down a ton. You know, dragon nails are at an almost appropriate price in my opinion. They're about 37k each, which is very low. I expect these to probably go up during leagues, just because people are going to be doing sailing because of leagues, so we might see people buying these up, and I think they're going to come up again in the long term, but I don't know if they'll come up enough to reach these points that we've seen before. I don't think they're going to see 52k again. I think they're just going to get more and more common. I think there's going to be more sources of these from sailing as time goes on. I don't really see that them stagnating with the amount of supplies. You know, we might see these from a drop from the pirates. We might see these from a drop from another monster or another area that's coming out soon. So there's really a lot of stuff up in the air for where these items are going to come from in the future. So I wouldn't put a lot of money on this, but, you know, if you are a speculative mind, you know, be my guest. So this is just the scythe of Vidar I wanted to highlight, just to visualize, you know, what I was talking about in the graph before. You know, we saw this downturn down to 1.45 bill, and then it kind of recovered back up to 1.5. I think it's going to be around 1.5 again. You know, I talked about this a second ago, so I'm not going to dwell on it for too long, but there's just the scythe. So I wanted to highlight a few items that are great buys right now. The Void Waker is almost at a quarterly low. It's almost at an all-time low, actually. It is very, very attractive right now. It is 36.8 mil. It's actually a little bit lower, I think, since I started making this video. it is at a great price right now. So if you're interested in this weapon and also the next one, you know, this, you might want to consider getting in on this. I think these are going to be a great investment. They're so low right now, and then with the PVM that's coming out with the guaranteed spec of Void Waker, these are gonna, I think these are gonna go up a lot. And same thing with the Dragon Claws, are also at a yearly low. It might be an all-time low, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, but these are down to 42 mil, almost 40 mil at this point. And this is another great one. I mean, spec weapons are always popular, spec weapons are always useful. You know, I think these are just being sold because they're easy to just get rid of, because there's a lot of them and they're not that super expensive. But I think in the long term, these are going to go crazy when these new PVM updates come out. I think the Blood Moon one, or whatever it is, Blood Moon Rises, and then the new raid, I think these items are going to be super useful. I think just buying like 2 or 3 of these just for the heck of it, you know, is going to print for you. Might want to consider that. You know, again, these are at great prices, almost all-time lows, so, you know, just something to consider. Oathplate is also down pretty significantly. It recovered a little bit here at the end. It's back up to about 90 mil now, but it was down to 87, which is a very long low. I'm pretty sure it's a quarterly low, might be a yearly low. Again, another good opportunity to buy if you're interested. I don't think it'll go down much more than that, but I could be wrong. You know, the markets know more than I do, so, you know, just something to keep an eye on if you're interested. The Avernic Defender, another great buy. This is one of those items that you buy once and forget about because it's just the best in slot and you're not going to use anything else. These are 36 mil right now. Great price. I bought this at like 180 mil, you know, when I was, you know, not maxed yet. This was years back. I bought this for a ton of money and I obviously never sold it. I never really had a chance or a want to do so. If you've got 36 mil lying around and you're looking for an upgrade, this is it right here. I mean, this is a great item. You know, this is going to serve you for the rest of your PVM career. You know, you're going to have just, this is a great item. So, you know, if you're in the market for this, I highly recommend you pick this up. I mean, this is at a quarterly low, almost I think it's a yearly low. It might be an all-time low. Just a great item, you know, great upgrade that you're going to have forever. So, really consider this, in my opinion. And then this is the prayer index. The only thing I really wanted to highlight here is that prayer is going up. You know, the prayer items are going up for whatever reason. You know, I think there's less bots around right now because Dragon Bones are going up, but Hydra Bones are not going up, you know, in line with the Dragon Bones. So I think there's less Dragon Bones in general on the market, causing them to go up. I think they're at like 2.34K right now, which is a pretty high price. You know, if you're holding Dragon Bones right now, not a bad time to get rid of them. You know, I got a lot of Hydra Bones because I do a lot of Hydra and waiting for these to at least peak 8K before I start selling them again, because, you know, they used to be like 10 or 11K, and, you know, that was just, you know, that was where it was at in my opinion. But yeah, just wanted to highlight that. I think the behavior there with the Dragon Bones and the Hydra Bones is interesting, you know, because you can see it down here at the bottom. These bones are going up on a pretty, you know, solid trajectory, and the rest are kind of more volatile. So I think that just has more to do about the bots than the actual volume of the other bones. So, you know, we're going to keep an eye on that. And like I said, I'm going to have a botting video coming out, you know, soon here. Last week we talked about Perilous Moons. There was a guy that was speculating that Perilous Moons was going to be printing because people are going to be doing stuff on alts while they were doing leagues on their main. So their idea was that people are going to buy out the Blood Moon and other Eclipse sets to use, and then that would cause an upward momentum for demand for those sets. I thought that was kind of speculative, if you remember from the last video. I don't think this is going to print, and I mean, you can see on this graph that it isn't currently. You know, they're all kind of down similarly to the other PVM items that we looked at already. You know, the Blood Moon is the Blood Moon's doing kind of good, though. It's on a tear over the year. I mean, starting from the first of the year, I mean, it's up pretty significantly. They all are, actually. But like I said, this is the full set. This is all the sets put together. You know, you can see Blood Moon is just on a tear. I don't think it's going to peak 30 mil again, you know, this year, unless it ends up being best in slot at something somehow. These other ones are just kind of following along. I think there's just less people doing moons. There's probably less bots maybe doing moons. Less demand for these two sets in particular. The only thing people really want out of Eclipse is the Atlatl. The only thing people really want out of Blue Moon is the spear. People want the Blood Moon set because the set is really good. You know, the set is very good for mid-level players. So a lot of people want that, and that's why its demand and price is so high. That boss is also just really annoying in my opinion, but that's for another day. But anyway, I just wanted to highlight that, you know, they're not in a great spot right now, especially relative to where they were last week. I think this is last week's right here. So they're down since I reviewed that post last week. And then finally, I wanted to look at this crazy flip that I found on GE Bets. I don't know what is going on here. This dude has got Armageddon Cape Fabric in at 75 mil. I don't think it has ever touched this number. I think the highest I've ever seen is like maybe 30. And given, if you watch my DMM video from last week about going over what I think is happening with that, I don't think it's ever going to touch 75 mil, if I'm being completely honest. Same thing with these teleport scrolls. I don't know what possessed this person to buy these over the more popular like blueprints or the weapon scrolls. No idea. You know, go off, King, if you think this is going to print, you know, be, you know, sure. You know, this dude's got 10 million logs in at 55 coins, you know, not an impossible flip in my opinion. You know, I don't think logs are going to touch 55, but we'll see. He was saying in the comments that he was thinking that Attack Potion 4 was going to get added to free to play and that they would print at that point. So this dude's holding 5.5 mil in Attack Potions, hoping that they go to 200 coins. I mean, just a really interesting speculation. Dude's got onions in at 85. You know, what, you know, go off, King, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, so just a really interesting speculation that we have going on here that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, that's really all I had for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have anything that you want to talk about in the comments, or if you have anything that you want me to talk about in the comments, please let me know. Please like and subscribe. Share if you wish. I hope you guys found this information useful, and I will see you soon with another Leagues video. And then, of course, I'll see you next Friday for the next market overview. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you again.